suffering, pain, failure, self-doubt, darkness, and then a whole bunch of light. But to get to this light, you gotta go through all of this shit.
You won't always feel like doing it. And that is exactly why you have to. Discipline isn't about motivation. It's about mastery. If you only move when it feels right, you'll never move far. You need to stop treating your emotions like they're commands. They're just signals. So feel what you feel and acknowledge what you feel. But still, show up and do the work.
Motivation and inspiration is an inside job. It's attaching your why you do something, to your what, because why you pursue something is vastly more important than what you actually pursue. As long as what you pursue is edifying you and filling you up, it's going to be harder to find those moments of burnout. You're going to hit roadblocks, you're going to hit stumbling blocks, you're going to hit peaks, and you're going to hit valleys. But for the most part, continue to remember why you started and why you're doing something.
If you wake up every day feeling unhappy, let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with you. That's not depression. That's not some curse. That's your life screaming at you that you're living below your potential.
It really comes down to one thing. People who win make up their minds, and then they say, I'm going to do this no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it is, no matter what I have to go through to make this happen. And they start climbing before people, and they keep climbing after other people quit. That's the secret to doing this. There's no special skill. There's no secret knowledge. There's no magic. In fact, the magic that everybody thinks there is just simply persevering through the hard things that come our way and never stopping.
It's hard doing something for a long time, getting up every single day and you're not where you want to be at just yet, and then doing it again the next day and doing it again the next day. That's actually hard. But you're building your mental endurance. Stop looking for the end result and just enjoy the process, bro. This is not fairyland, bro. You gotta put in work in the real world, bro. Anything worth having is gonna take hard work. You gotta understand that. It's not gonna fall in your lap.
Death is also inescapable. There is no way out. No one gets out alive. Death is part of life, like the contrast between the darkness and the light. Without death, there is no life. And the people that I have lost, they taught me that. They taught me how precious life is, how blessed we are to have every day, to learn, to live, to live.
The world's tough. The world's tough. We are training kids and people to be soft in a world that continuously gets harder. You have to build a person that can withstand the pressures of whatever they're going to be dealing with in life. And we don't do that. You better have a part about you that's tough, a part about you that can break down situations and get better. And break down situations very quickly within some trauma in your life, some devastation in your life, because it's going to come. It can't be a Jersey bear. It has to be something that you can maneuver through very quickly and move forward. That takes a lot of toughness.
The fear of making mistakes or not feeling good enough. Guess what? You're gonna make some mistakes. You're gonna make some mistakes if you wanna do something out here. You're gonna fall flat on your face. You're gonna be criticized when you come out into the arena called life. You're gonna feel awkward and stupid and dumb sometimes. It goes with the territory.
If you really want to be transformed, you have to live an intentional life. Most people don't lead their life, they accept their life. And when you accept your life, you are living on things that are not worthy of your time and effort and energy. To go uphill, you have to be intentional. Nobody ever went uphill by accident. You've never read a book on accidental achievements. You have to be intentional with what you do and who you are.
to live every day with purpose and passion, to wake up in the morning and be thankful. Thankful for that morning, thankful for that opportunity to go into the world and live for them. For those who don't have the opportunity, for those who were stolen away by death's cruel hand. For them, I will live. I will revere their memory, and I will live.
When we have a governor on our brains, like a governor on a car. A car may say 130, but if you put a governor on a car, it can only go 101. We do the same thing to our brains. I was born with limited horizons. So my governor was myself. So once you take that governor off, you have limitless horizons.
Being enthusiastic won't get it. So you got to prepare yourself. You've got to develop yourself. You've got to practice. You've got to work. You've got to do your homework. You've got to do your research. See, a lot of people have a yes, I can attitude, but a no, I can't aptitude. And competency builds confidence. And confidence feeds into competency. See, the better you become, the more confident you feel. And the more confident you feel, the better you want to become. You realize that you have no ceiling. That you can better whatever you've done so far. You can go beyond that. You don't become cocky and arrogant, feeling that you've already arrived, as most people have. And that's why they've settled for less than what they rightly deserve in life. Because they feel they have arrived and they say, well, I can rest now. No. Long as you're breathing, you got some more work to do. There's something else for you to achieve.
The fruit of everything good in life begins with a challenge. Everything is uphill that's worthwhile. And it's not going to come to you, and it's not going to fall in your lap. And it's not going to be something that, oh my gosh, it just was so simple. It's always going to be difficult. And for many of you, this is your chance. This is your shot. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your opportunity. This is your place for you to really begin to live an intentional life.
It's not the critic who counts. Not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short and short, time and time again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deed, who knows great enthusiasm, great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring to be great, so that his place shall never be with the cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
There's so many times in life you don't want to be doing what you're doing. You can't just quit. Remember this, it's in the hobby, it's in the joke, it's the lifestyle.
Engage. Engage. Weakness is strong. I must be stronger. I must crush it into submission through force of will. So I savage the body. I push and pull and fight against gravity. I fight against fatigue and soreness and the weakness that says, give in. I will not give in. I will fight.
You gotta rise up. You gotta make your dreams a reality and live a damn masterpiece. You know this. Make a decision. What's the decision? What's the thing you came here for? Now we're at the moment. The clock is ticking. Life can be long. You bury your dreams, you quit this, life gets long. It's only a thought if you don't take an action. The difference between a thought and a decision is an action. So we know, and you just decided, and you know what it is. You know what it is. A decision you've made, something you do that you follow up with the action to make it real.
What we don't do is we don't go inside. So literally turn yourself inside out. Read the book that says, like we're writing a book every day of our lives, but we never read that book. So what I would challenge this young man or young woman to do is you have to look inside of yourself to see what you really want. What are you passionate about? So when I speak from passion, I speak from experience, I speak from suffering. That the only way I believe, and this is my experience in life, the only way you're ever going to get to the other side of this journey is you have got to suffer to grow. To grow, you must suffer.
Commitment is staying true to what you said you would do long after the mood that you said it in has left. Commitment is staying true to what you said you would do long after the mood that you set it in has left. Like I know when the mood is right, we hype, we talking, we high-fiving, we talking about what we gonna do, and then we get in that certain moment of adversity, that certain moment of truth, and it tests our character. And the thing I love about adversity introduces you to who you really are as a person.
But you can only do that through the struggle of life. And most people avoid the struggle. Most people go through life avoiding pain. And when you go through life like that, something in you dies. Something in you that you never activate is lying dormant in there, that you never get a chance to call on because you had not challenged yourself. Somebody said, the land of familiarity belongs to the dead.
But sometimes in day-to-day life, you can lose track of the long-term goal. It fades from your vision. It slips from your mind. Wrong. I want that long-term goal to be so embedded in my mind that I never lose sight of it. Ever. And the little tasks and projects and short-term goals that you tackle need to lead towards strategic victory, winning the long war.
When you get tired, when you get fatigued, when you get down, when you're in a slump, it's your habits, rituals, routines, and your standards that carry you through. And if you don't have good habits, you don't have good rituals, you don't have good routines, always in your life you will fall down in bad times, in slumps and fatigue and in stress.
I'm telling you that, look, you can't activate light. You can't begin to experience light in the way you want to experience. You can't have it, you can't be it, you can't do it until you activate it. Until, yes, it's all in there. All your gifts, all your talents, everything you need to do to be what you've been called to do, what you've been birthed to do. You can't do until you activate it, until you recognize you matter. Everything about you is great, but the problem is you have consciously chosen to be average.
So when you say to yourself, support, there's no coach, there's no trainer to keep you going, it's only you. The whole thing is this: don't say a word. Stay uncommon amongst uncommon people. You're never done. Don't stop when you're tired. Stop when you're done. Stay hard.
Once you begin to discover who you are, then you really realize how you have been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, including all the dimensions of your life.
In other words, when the outcome changes and it's not what we want it to be, and it doesn't turn out the way we want it to turn out, do we still value the thing that we once said we value? Is our character still intact? Right? Because we all know it. Character is not something we inherit. Character is something we got to wake up every single day. We got to fight it. We got to build it. In the midst of opposition, in the midst of challenges, in the midst of uncertainty.
Every day, do something that moves you toward that goal, that keeps that goal alive and in sight and in focus. However small or insignificant that step might seem, take it. Do it. Make it happen. Because that goal isn't going to achieve itself. It is all on you.
Desire to me is a contract that you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. So when I'm unhappy about something, I look for what is the underlying desire that I have that's not being fulfilled. It's okay to have desires. You're a biological creature. You're put on this earth. You have to do something. You have to have desires. You have a mission. But don't have too many. Don't pick them up unconsciously. Don't pick them up randomly. Don't have thousands of them. Pick your one overwhelming desire, and it's okay to suffer over that one. But on all the others, you want to let them go so you can be calm and peaceful and relaxed.
Everything can become possible if you find the way to translate what is in the mind into action, because this transformation makes things come to us. Everything we have available nowadays on this earth started somewhere here by someone.
Your laziness, your lack of discipline, it doesn't just affect you. You see, whether you realize it or not, there are people that depend on you. And more importantly, there are people that will depend on who you could become. Who you decide to be matters. When you haven't developed the mental fortitude and the mental strength to deal with difficult situations, and a truly difficult situation arrives, and you're too wrapped up in your own problems to help anyone else, that affects them. If you are not going to do it for yourself, do it for the people that depend on you to be the best you.
All winners have lost. All winners have got depressed. All winners have been heartbroken. All winners have been disappointed and confused, frustrated, and angry. But they kept moving forward. That's the only reason they're winners. Nobody is winning all the time. Nobody has.
Everything's gonna be okay. Everything you're worried about is gonna be okay. That too, whatever it is, that also is gonna be fine.
But to give up and think that that you are a lost case. There are no lost cases. Unless you give yourself up, then it is lost.
You get to decide if I'm gonna be rich, poor, mediocre, plentiful, happy, sad. You have a decision to make.
Well, it happens small until it happens big. The reinvention occurs in the micro actions that you're taking every single day. The tiny little things that perhaps no one even notices that are creating muscle memory around new behaviors. Tiny little things repeated over time is what produces dramatic change. And it's like this curve, it's like this very slow curve. And everyone wants to talk about the pivot moment when it goes skyward. But the truth is, the real work is in the drudgery and the difficult, anonymous work of shoveling shit every single day. Don't leave before the miracle. And I take that as a lesson in persistence. Whatever it is that you're pursuing to achieve or create or express in the world, I think a lot of people back out before that happened.
If I told you that you're only 6 months away, 6 months away from the life you've always dreamt of, the health you've always dreamt of, the income, the lifestyle, or the body of work you've always dreamt of? What if I told you that your success was guaranteed and that the person you've always dreamt of becoming was only 6 months away? There's just one condition though. For that time, you have to show up each and every day and do all the things you and I both know you should be doing. How would you show up each day? If success were guaranteed and it was only 6 months away, what would you do differently? We all have a good idea of what we need to do, yet so few of us take action. You know what your perfect 6 months would look like. You already know who you want to be. Go be that person. Stop waiting for someone or something to come along and give you the permission to start living your own life.
Life goes on. Whatever happened in your past that continues to weigh on your mind, it doesn't matter. And you may say, well, certainly it matters. It drastically changed my life. It has thrown me off course and now I am dazed and confused. How could you say it doesn't matter? And to that I say, you are still in pursuit of legacy. You are still on the journey to achieve everything that you dream of. And today is just as good as any other to take a step in the right direction. In other words, circumstances do not affect your ability to choose what you do next. It is up to you to continue forward or remain stagnant, and that will never change.
You cannot control all of the external circumstances in your life, but you can control how you feel about those circumstances in your life. And once you recognize that taking control of your emotions and not allowing your emotions to control you, taking the wheel, allows you to be the master of your fate.
Take responsibility for your actions. Apologize when you're wrong, and acknowledge how you treat others when you're anxious, angry, or upset. Regardless of what happens in life, you still have control over how you respond. Everything you say and do is a choice. Blaming others is easy. Show a little patience, because the only thing you have control over is yourself.
Turn your feelings off when it comes down to you wanting to be better. What that means is when that alarm clock goes off, your feelings gotta go away. If you want to achieve greatness, your feelings have to go away.
People change when they hurt enough they have to, when they see enough they're inspired to, when they learn enough that they want to, and when they receive enough that they're able to. Those are the 4 times that people change.
It's like when it says good is the enemy of great, the comfort zone is the enemy of courage, right? The comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there.
Tell yourself the truth. Just be honest with yourself. All of us tell ourselves stories to avoid the things we don't want to do and to justify the things that we want to do. And you can get pretty good at believing your own story. You know when you have time and you're pretending you don't. You know when you can do something you don't want to do, but you pretend you can't. Deep down, every single one of us knows when it's real and when it's bullshit. And you might be really good at convincing other people, but you cannot truly convince yourself. Because although you may be able to justify it for a moment, you might be able to convince yourself for a moment, there still always exists that deep-rooted sense of shame of desiring to be a certain version of yourself and knowing damn well that you are choosing not to be that.
Why would you limit yourself from experiencing that? Why? Because you're scared, you're afraid, you don't know how it's gonna work out, it doesn't feel good, perfectly fine. But I've come to understand, I've come to realize that the beauty of life isn't in pursuing happiness, it's in pursuing experiences, and it's understanding that it's multidisciplinary, it's multilateral, it's not just one emotion. So I'm not in the business of pursuing happiness, I'm in the business of pursuing life. And life comes in different forms at different seasons.
Universes change, and life itself is but what we deem it. What he means is that things are going to happen, you are going to have experiences in life. Almost all of the important impacts of how those experiences change you are going to be the story that you tell yourself about what that experience means. You know, the framing that you place around the present moment largely determines your experience of it. And this is where having confidence in yourself, an undeniable stack of proof that you can deal with whatever is put in front of you, is super important.
And I always say no one's coming to save you. What I mean is they're not coming to save you from yourself. If you don't learn how to push yourself out of bed and out the door, if you don't learn how to hold yourself to a standard that's higher than your excuses, you will always procrastinate, you will always feel anxious, and you will always succumb to some sort of thing that's easier in the moment instead of pushing yourself to do the thing that's hard that helps you become the best version of you. I'm telling you, this is the secret to everything. Learn how to do things that are hard. Learn how to do things that you hate, because when you learn how to hold yourself to a higher standard, you, my friend, are unstoppable, because you will not stop yourself.
You deserve exactly what you're choosing to settle for. You are in control of what you accept. You are in control of what you allow in your life. Nobody, nothing, no situation can control your life without your permission.
Right? When we say a goal, a dream, or aspiration, we put it out there as if it's always going to be smooth sailing, right? As if no opposition is going to be present, as if no challenge is going to be present. That's why you create habits. That's why you create routines. You don't just do it for the great times. You do it when all hell is breaking loose.
The difference between successful people and non-successful people is here. You have to change this. So if you're at a place in your life and you ain't happy with it, you have to change some things. But you have to make a conscientious decision that you're going to change. And it's not dependent on anybody else. It don't matter what your mama think. It don't matter what your coworkers think. It don't matter what your siblings think. It don't matter. They have nothing to do with it. This decision is yours and yours alone.
The heart of confidence is action. It's the willingness to try. And all you need is to know that if you try, you're not gonna die. You're just gonna learn something. And when you learn something, it removes a little bit of the insecurity so that it makes it slightly easier to try again.
Say you can't fix the problem if you don't know where it's coming from. And so you think and think and think about all your problems. And the more and more you think about them, the bigger they become. You go down this rabbit hole of why things are the way they are. Why am I sad? And usually the rabbit hole ends with, it's not my fault. It's because of my parents, my teacher, my friends, my boss. Now what? What good does knowing whose fault it is do for you? Nothing. Right now, you don't know if what you're telling yourself is the actual cold-hearted truth or just an excuse. So if you want to fix your problems, move first, think and analyze after.
What can one man do except forgive his best? If you fail, you try again. If you win, you try again and get better. So as long as you maintain and you stay consistent, you'll forever be a winner and a champion, and the people who love you in their eyes, because they support you nevertheless, as long as you're trying again and again and again.
To find your identity, to discover who you are, you must be with yourself. Isolate your mind, observe your thoughts, ask yourself questions, explore your imagination. And with time, not only will you find yourself, but you will find what brings you life. You will find purpose, something to chase. And now you have yourself, as well as a grand adventure.
The thing that's so interesting about being alive is that you're all in. No matter what you do, you're all in. This is gonna kill you. So I think you might as well play the most magnificent game you can while you're waiting. Because do you have anything better to do? Why not pick the best thing possible that you could do? Because you're more powerful than you think. Way more powerful than you think. I mean, God only knows what you are in the final analysis. You're blind to your own weaknesses, but you're also blind to your own strengths. How far could you take that if you stopped wasting time, and if you stopped lying, and if you oriented yourself to the highest possible good that you could conceive of and you committed to that? How much good could you do? Well, I would say, why don't you find out?
It's all in your mind. Whatever you hold in your mind will tend to occur in your life. If you continue to believe as you have always believed, you will continue to act as you have always acted. You will continue to get what you have always gotten.
If you want different results in your life or your work, all you have to do is change your mind.
Wisdom comes from experience, and experience takes time. The more experience you have and the more you learn from that experience, the wiser you can get. A pine tree grows and matures very fast. An oak tree grows and matures very, very slow. Which one lasts longer? And which one is stronger? Which one shelters more critters and more birds? Which one, when it's done and over and it's cut down, which one is more valuable for the lumber?
We're all looking for this golden purpose. Is it this? Is it that? Is it making money? Is it my family? Motherfucker, the purpose is you. Every fucking day I wake up, I don't want to do some fucking shit. I'm like, okay, man, do you want to be a bitch today? You want to walk around all day knowing that you could, but you didn't? You have to learn how to get up and do shit when you ain't got no fucking 5K, no 10K, nothing. Nothing exists. Your life fucking sucks. You're in a fucking dungeon. But guess what, motherfucker? I'm still going to get it.
First of all, don't aim at being happy, because that's just not gonna work, especially when the storms come and barbarians are beating at the gate. You can just forget about that. And there's gonna be times in your life where you're suffering so much you can't believe it. And so you're gonna need something a hell of a lot more robust than happiness to get you through that. And then you might say, well, what's more robust than happiness? Or maybe even what's more robust than pain? How about adventure? How about we go out and sail the uncharted seas, you know?
But our life situation predominantly is our fault. It's our fault.
When you get knocked down and you get broken open, that's when you really get to know your true self. Suffering is awesome. You know, you get knocked down and split in half, you walk out in the world. If you choose, you have a choice. You can contract and become bitter and never open up again, like most people, or you can actually use the tragedy or suffering or whatever you've gone through to allow it to purify you. Tragedy and pain is life's greatest purifier.
Holding the line, maintaining the standard, giving no slack, none. That's the discipline.
What's God? God is that which calls you to make the appropriate sacrifices and calls you on it when you don't. And try to escape that and see what happens. We know perfectly well, that that's a pathway to hell. And you might say, I don't believe in hell. And I would say, that means you don't know anything. Do you abide by that or not? Well, you do if you're wise, and you do if you care about the people around you.
You gotta be willing to do the work. You can speak about it all day. The easiest thing in the world to do is to complain, blame, and quit and settle. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. But it takes real work to deconstruct and to reconstruct the thought process and the mindset of an individual when they're trying to change something. That's why I always say to people, what's more important, what we acquire or who we become, right? What's more important, what we acquire or who we become? Materialistic, superficial is cool, but the people that we become, the thoughts we think, the words we speak, that's something that's going to travel with us forever.
Let the process do what the process does. The process is there for a reason. The process is there to strengthen you and build you. The process teaches you things along the journey that no skipping steps could have taught you, that no faking it till you make it could have taught you, that no overnight success could have taught you. The journey isn't always beautiful, but the journey is always purposeful. So start telling yourself, this is a part of the process.
We are absolutely divine, magnificent expressions of life, all of us, where each face is another unique expression of God. And we're not supposed to be alike. Since time began on this planet, there have not been two snowflakes alike. We've certainly not been two people alike. And we're always trying to be like everybody else so we're acceptable. Our uniqueness is what makes us wonderful.
What you most want to be found will be found where you least want to look, essentially. And it's so interesting because it means that if you're willing to turn around and to stand up, say, and stand up straight and face the darkness like fully, what you discover at the darkest part is the brightest light. And then that's something that's so much worth discovering, because there's going to be terrible darkness in your life. And it's going to make you cynical and bitter. And it could easily be that you're just not looking at it enough. Because if you looked at it enough and you didn't shy away and you brought everything you had to bear on it, you'd find that there was more to you than there was to the horror.
I don't know what your future is, but if you're willing to take the harder way, the more complicated one, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory, then you will not regret it. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose.
You don't know about real loss, because that only occurs when you love something more than you love yourself.
We rise to our maximum potential when we're of service to others. And not only our maximum potential, but our greatest usefulness. And living in that potential and usefulness gives us the most kind of rich human satisfaction.
On the one hand, the meaning of life is propagation of your selfish genes. On the other hand, I would say you make your own meaning, and we all do that, and we lead a better life if we develop something important. Somebody else writes music, or plays music. There are all sorts of ways you can give meaning to your life, your personal relationships, your love for your spouse and your children, etc. These all give meaning to life.
You have to work on yourself. We have to have an unstoppable attitude, and no excuse is acceptable. And you got to make it a priority, a non-negotiable in your life, and hold a constant vision of what it is you want to achieve. See it accomplished and go all out. Find a way to win in spite of the setbacks, in spite of the disappointments, in spite of your failures. I tell people, you will fail your way to success. I have a saying, is life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
And people ask me, like, what's the one thing that led you to having the kind of success that you've had? I say that. I switched my identity, my sense of pride and self-esteem around to something that is truly anti-fragile. Because now if you tell me that I'm stupid, I will say, awesome. In what way? Because if you tell me in what way I'm wrong, if you tell me in what way I'm ignorant, then I can learn. Go back. The only belief that matters. You can learn anything you set your mind to. So someone telling you that you're stupid or undereducated or you don't know what you're talking about, fantastic. And that's where most people shut down. It's like, oh, that really hurts. You throw up the psychological immune system, you explain them away, they don't make as much money as I do, all things will probably be equally true. But where does that get you? It keeps you ignorant to a truth about you, by the way, that the rest of the world knows. In fact, here's something if you're really ready for some truth. All the things that you hope nobody notices about, all the weaknesses in your game and your skill set that you think are so wonderfully hidden, everyone knows. bubble. Like, you're only protecting yourself from the truth. Everybody else is already thinking it. But becoming anti-fragile, it is the single most important thing you can do to supercharge your life and get where you want to go.
That you have to always go back to that student mindset. You have to always go back to that emptiness. And I think one of the reasons why we struggle with that is we think that when we're full, we're safe. Our ego makes us believe that when you're full, when you think you know it all, that's when you're safe. Craziest thing is, that's when you're at your weakest.
Everything I went through, if you learn how to flip that monk on top of his head and say, hang on, there's so much power in this thing. If you look at life as it is a trial ground, a testing ground for where you need to belong, where you need to go, suffering is a fact of life. If you look at suffering the right way, it is a great tool to callous your mind.
It's hard to say what the soul means metaphysically because, say beyond the confines of a single human being, we do have this sense that the soul can expand itself into something that's greater than it has. It has this capacity for growth. And we do have the sense that the soul can expand itself to the point where it's enlightened, that it's working as efficiently as possible to transform everything that's unnecessarily painful and malevolent about the world into what's positive and good. And that it does that as a consequence of confronting the world with courage and truth. And I think that's right. And I do think that that means that the soul participates in something eternal, which is the attempt of being itself to transform what's unnecessarily painful and malevolent into what's good. And I think that it's a mistake to underestimate the importance of that, because I don't think that you can live a life of sufficient profundity to protect yourself from being corrupted by suffering malevolence without adopting a responsibility that's commensurate with that set of ideas. I think that you either orient yourself upward, to the star above the horizon and try desperately to improve the structure of being, or you work at counter purposes to it and make things worse.
How people live their lives, as you know, was a result of the story they believe about themselves. He interrupted my story, and I left there with a heart full of faith, not a heart full of fear. Zig said most people in a fearful situation, they forget everything and run. But there are a small number, the road to life is straight and narrow, a few there be that find it, who face everything and rise.
Those who are willing to risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. You have to take the risk. You can no longer play it safe. Now it's time to get risky. Now it's time to truly find out what you're made of and what you could achieve. Now it's time to truly find out how many lives you could impact. Now it's time to find out what you are destined to become.
You can't have an easy life and a great character. Show me a trust fund kid that inherited a bunch of money, and I'll show you someone mentally tortured. It's not the pursuit of happiness. It's the happiness of the pursuit. The journey or the destination. It's who you become on the journey.
If you're not getting past this, today, this week, this month, this year, all of a sudden a decade goes by and you're still holding up, and you can't get rid of that thing, if it's holding you back from going where you want to go, maybe you should just deny the thing ever can happen. Kick it in the head. Kick it off the curb. I'm done with you. I'm sick of you. I'm tired of hanging out with you. I'm tired of that thing, whatever it is, holding me back from going where I want to go.
Never say you can't do it. Say, I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet. And that's true with everything. It's like, there's nothing that you can't do. You may not have done it yet. We don't know if you can do it or not until you really practice, and then you find out if you could do it or not, or how well you could do it.
You have to kill your current self for your new self to have room to grow. And so it's this constant appraisal of your skills and activities. Which of these makes me stronger? Which of these makes it more likely for me to hit my goal? And I just want to give you that frame because that single frame of, is this person being in my life make it more likely or less likely that I hit my goal? Is this activity or this behavior that I do make it more or less likely that I hit my goal? And I consistently just ask that question over and over and over again. Imagine a competitor that you'd never want to go against. Focused, persistent, always learning, always improving, relentless, says no to everything but that which makes them stronger. You know what he looks like, you know how he acts, you know who he associates with. That's future you. Now become him.
The dream is so big, when you have something, it's hard to give up. You get to the point that you're capable of risking more for just a dream, which is something that a normal person will not understand.
You know, right now the goal is just to focus on myself, you know, everything growth. I'm not worried about the mistakes that I made in the past or anything, you know. I'm in competition with myself. So I'm just getting better and better and better. That's it.
You want to know when your life will really change though? The truth is, your life will change when you realize that some people are gone and they ain't coming back. Stop trying to breathe life into something that died years ago. Some people are in your life forever, but most people are only passing through. That chapter is in the past. So instead of reading the same chapter over and over again, it's time to make space for people who actually deserve your time and attention and who are presently here with you right now.
Remember this when life gets tough. Life is a lot like driving. Sometimes you get lost, and sometimes you have to take streets you don't like. Maybe they're full of traffic, or maybe they're too bumpy, but they lead you where you need to go. Each rough patch has a purpose that will teach you a lesson and make you stronger. You might not get why you're on a hard road, but trust the process. Every path, no matter how hard, is needed for your growth. The bumps in the road are steps to where you need to be. Keep going, even when the way is unclear or crowded. You have a place you're meant to reach. The funny thing about life is that we can have so much and still feel something's missing. There's always that empty spot making us wonder why. We make excuses, looking for reasons for this feeling, wondering if there's a fix. It's because we can't let go. Holding on to a dream of a perfect life, we forget that good things take time.
Pleasure passes quickly, but the shame remains. That's the harsh Stoic truth. But the positive side of that is the reverse. When you work hard for something, when you put in hard labor on something, that passes quickly. But the pride, the virtue, the good that comes out of it, it remains.
And it's about accepting the seasons. The weather can never be the same, but can never rain all day, every day. So maybe you're in a season, but the weather always has to change. What can you be learning? What can you be doing in this season? Because it's definitely not gonna change if you're not figuring out what lesson you need to have in this season. If it never rained, the plant's not growing.
Have you ever realized that both fear and faith require you to believe in something that you cannot see? Think about that for a second. Both include uncertainty, both require discomfort. One keeps you small by anticipating danger or pain. The other wants you to grow by anticipating joy or love. So if you're stuck between the two, doubt or hope, fear or faith, maybe the simpler question is, which of the two do you value more? Once you have your answer, start acting from there.
Most people, when they fail, they don't like to look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? Maybe I have to change. People want change to happen to them. They don't want to change. And when you realize that change isn't going to happen to you, you need to actually proactively determine your future. Then and only then can you actually take not only full accountability for your good actions, your bad actions, but for your full life.
If you feel like you lost your way, I would say congratulations. If you're lost, that only means one thing. You're about to be found. And sometimes you need to lose your way in order to find a better way. Sometimes you need to lose certain things to gain better things. Sometimes certain doors have to close that you want to keep open so a better door can come into your life.
What's impossible in your life, go after that. Have that. Goals are important. Passion is important. Waking up in the morning and having excitement about the day is important. You're here not by choice. You're led to this. I believe we all have a destiny. We're all supposed to do something in our lives.
My favorite quote of all time by T.S. Eliot: those willing to risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. Notice that it says those willing to risk. You have to risk failing. You have to risk getting mocked. You have to risk your safety and security if you want to find out how far you can go. If you want to find out how many lives you can touch. If you want to find out what it tastes like at the top, you have to be willing to risk going too far.
And that's what's painful, is that it takes more effort to start in the beginning, and more people are right about the fact, they're like, hey, you're not going to hit it big. And guess what? A month in, you're not. But they're only measuring on months. And at 6 months, you're also not going to have hit it big yet. And they're going to be like, I'm still fucking right. And at a year, you're still not going to have hit it big. And they'll still be fucking right. And every day that you haven't hit it, they're going to feel like they were right. But they're wrong, because they're measuring in days and you're measuring in decades.
To get anywhere in life, you have to work extremely hard and you have to be disciplined. If you wanted to be a great piano player, there's no drug you can take, there's no self-help book, there's no guru. You got to spend 5 years, 10 years learning it until it becomes something that's second nature. There are no shortcuts. You see after a few years that an incredible pleasure happens where now you have mastery of this piano and you can play things you could never play before. Suddenly the whole thing opens up, this whole new universe. And that's the paradigm for everything meaningful in life. If you learn something well, if you learn a craft and you master it, it can bring you a far greater pleasure than any kind of drug or any kind of going out to a party or socializing. But you have to be patient and you have to not be afraid of boredom. You have to not be afraid of the effort.
You know, there's something powerful that once you just sort of embrace the fact that in order to achieve something big, you've got to get rid of these distractions. You're probably going to have some suffering to get there or some sacrifice to get there. Suffering and sacrifice and hard work is an indication of progress towards our dreams. The lack of sacrifice, the lack of suffering in our lives, its removal, its non-existence also equates to a non-existence of a great life. A non-existence of a dream happening. When we're suffering and sacrificing, we wonder whether it's worth it. We wonder whether we're supposed to. We wonder whether sacrifice or setbacks or suffering is a sign it's not our real dream. See, at the gym, you never think, oh, I'm going through some pain and discomfort. This must be a sign I shouldn't be at the gym. You'd never think that. In fact, the indication of the pain and sacrifice and sweat, don't you feel better at the gym? You're like, wow, I really sacrificed today. I really suffered. So in that area, we all know to the extent we suffer and sacrifice is to the extent we grow.
Don't get better automatically. You only get better because you intentionally make a decision to get better. You have to go from being a person of good intentions to a person of good actions.
Life doesn't happen to you. We all think that life happens to me, right? In fact, the only difference between most of you and me, the only difference between me and you is I wanted it more. I wanted it more. Opportunities will come to you every day. It's either for you, you can remain scared of the opportunities or you can embrace them and take them.
You need to push yourself past good. Good is not enough. What are you going to do that's going to be different, you understand? What is different within you? There is something deeply different about you. Because a lot of the times, our biggest obstacle is ourselves. You are in your own way. And it just takes a perspective shift to implement into our day. And the next thing you know, we're transforming.
I wish more people were more gentle with themselves and more forgiving. You don't have a lot of people in life that are gonna
come and fight for you. It bothers me to my core when I see people be negative on themselves, be hard on themselves, not be a fan of themselves. If you're not a fan of yourself, nobody's gonna be a fan of you. If you don't fight for yourself, nobody's gonna fight for you. It really bothers me, the victim mentality that people have. And if you can escape that victim mentality, you can tap into the opposite side, which is hope.
And you start stacking those wins. With each win comes a higher price. You have to pay a little bit more. Some days you pay a little less, some days you pay a little bit more. When winning is looking at you and it's saying, this is what I need you to focus in on, can you go all in on that? Or are you busy still kind of looking out of the corner of your eye? You can't do anything to the fullest extent, to its best capabilities, if you're already thinking about something else or you're thinking about next.
Because if you wanted it bad enough, you make it happen. Just shows your true desires. Otherwise, something more important will always come up. Truth is, it's on your mind. Probably as ready as you'll ever be. If you don't make time for your dreams, you'll be forced to make time for your regrets.
A fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear.
Don't stop, don't dwell on the past, because a lot of times when we dwell on mistakes, when we dwell on certain decisions we've made that already happened, it keeps us there, it keeps us stuck there. Now we're taken away from this moment that we have right now, this moment that we have to bring intention to this moment, to bring gratitude to this moment, to focus on taking the next right step, instead of looking backwards and staying stuck in a place that we don't have anymore.
Fast forward 20 years. Are you going to look back at your time and think, I probably should have done anything? If you know that in a year, you think you're going to say, okay, I probably should have been doing this, or man, I probably shouldn't have been doing this so much. That is not a good feeling to have.
What have I found that you do about terrible things? Generally, you don't run from them, especially if they're not avoidable in the future. Generally, you stand, confront, decompose, understand, adapt. But just because you generally do that and it's the best bet doesn't mean it's definitely going to work. It's just the best shot you have at it. You know, it'd be lovely if something always worked, but if something always worked, people would never get sick and die. Right, and we do all the time. So we do our best, but that doesn't mean that that always works, but it's still the best that can be done. It's still the alternatives.
So it's very important for us to have reasons to be excited about life. Like when you wake up in the morning, it can't just be about problems.
Everything that's life must happen to you. Have you come here to avoid life, or have you come here to experience life? Experience life, all the different dimensions of what this life holds.
What is your compassion for the world? Like, what problem do you want to solve? People will say, there's so many things I could do, there's so many things. I'm like, my question is not what causes you the greatest joy. Sometimes my question is, what causes you the greatest pain? Someone out there who's not living to their potential, and I think we're better people, we're better partners, and we're better parents when we live to our potential.
All of us have kind of an identity for ourselves, a way of defining ourselves. And human beings don't usually stray from that. And it's all consistent with the fact that human beings, our strongest drive is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. Now that's just a story. And if you tell yourself a story long enough, you start to believe it. And once you believe it, you act like it.
He said, in every situation, between the situation
and your response, there's a space. It might only be a millisecond, but in that space, you have the ability to choose how you're going to react or respond. When you react, whatever you're reacting to is in control of you, whether it's another person, a condition, or a circumstance. When you respond to the same thing, you stay in control.
When perfectionism hinders your ability to have joy, to pursue something because of your fear of failure, or you're never good enough, or you can't relish your accomplishment, it becomes maladaptive.
A battlefield that goes on in your mind all the time. And there's bombs that are exploding all the time. Fear, anxiety, I'm not good enough. And a lot of times you're making those bombs explode, or somebody else is making those bombs explode, right? You have to take control of that space.
To transform your life, you want to do it in 2 minutes. So is that what your life is worth? So if your life is worthwhile, is it not important that you invest a certain amount of time and energy rather than looking for this stupid stuff of one mantra with which I will transform my life? It will not happen like that. That's the reason why most people have remained the way they have remained, because they've not invested in their well-being.
The space between our ears, we don't have control over it. A lot of other people have set shop in it. They're like, they've like taken the most expensive real estate in the world. You gotta make sure you control that battlefield that's going on again there. It's your space, it's your mind. You're going to have negative thoughts. You are. Just changing your thought is not gonna change your action. It may change your perspective, but you still have to continue to push forward.
And I don't think that we're born to blank slates, but we are so close to that. To worry about where your limits are is to miss how much you can improve. So focus on how much you can improve. There's an amazing quote by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and what he said was, "The line between good and evil runs through every human heart." To me, it's not about good and evil. To me, it's about malleability. That's a statement of how shapeable we are. Now, here's the terrifying thing about how we get shaped. It happens when you're young. You get all these things that come to you that seem to be simply true. I believed that the human mind couldn't change. I believed that it was fixed. I believed that my talent and intelligence were just what they were. And one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Albert Einstein. And he said, the most important decision any human being has to make is whether they live in a friendly or a hostile universe. Decision. The most important decision anyone has to make, because neither of those two states is empirically true, but either will immediately appear true once you decide to believe it. So once you decide to believe, yo, the world is working for me, this is happening for me, it's not happening to me. Once you believe that, you start looking for the ways in which that was powerful. How is the worst thing that ever happened to me actually secretly the best thing that's ever happened to me? You could be one of any countless identities that we see in the world. But we don't, because each of these places carries with it a value system, a belief system, things that are unique to that group that you grow up in, what your parents tell you about your family, about you, what it means to be you, what you learn in schools, what you see in the media, all of that stuff is shaping how you view yourself and how you view the world. But it's happening insidiously because it is so invisible. People don't realize that they are choices. Now, once you reframe all of this as these are things that I'm choosing to believe, and once you realize you can choose to believe something new and thusly get a different result, everything changes.